All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching the video. I first off want to apologize. It's taken me a little bit longer to put this one up. However, I got a new job and am in the middle of training, so I am taking a lunch break. We're going to run through this really quickly. Want to make sure we have all of your questions answered as far as the assignment exercise 11.4. So first off, I went ahead and I just put this information into Excel so it was a little bit easier for us to manipulate. What we see here is from the stockholders' equity, they have a little bit of their income statement here. Now, all of this information was done as of December 31st. All calculations are already there. All we need to do is answer 5 simple questions of what they want us to look for. So, first question, question A, asks us how many shares of common stock are outstanding. If we look into the information that they've provided to us, we see that there are 3 numbers that we want to be able to look at and decide which ones we need to use for our calculation. So common stock available or authorized to sell, the number of shares that have been issued, but then at the bottom we also see that they have purchased back some of those common stock shares. So we don't care what's available. All we need to know is how much stock have we put out into the market, and then we're going to want to take back what we've purchased back from the market. So to get that answer, we can use a formula and say, all right, well, we've issued 569,000 shares, and we've purchased back 5,200 shares. That'll give us the number of 563,800 shares. Now, if these numbers were to change, it doesn't matter. To know how many shares are outstanding is how many have you issued minus how many have you bought back, treasury shares, so to speak. Question number 2, it says, assuming that there is a stated value, what is the stated value of the common stock? Now you can see here that it says no par, but we do know that there is some value there. Just because there's not a par doesn't mean that there's a stated value. Par would be what's in the company, what's it called? Not the books, the ledger, the document when they say this is par. But for the value, all we need to do is take the current value of what they have in their common stock account, and we're going to divide that by the number of shares that it has issued. And that'll give us a stated value. We're not talking about par, we're talking about stated value for the common stock of $4. Moving on to question 3, it wants to know what is the par value for the preferred stock. In the first bit of information, it tells us how many shares are authorized and how many have been issued, and it tells us how much it was issued for, but what it doesn't tell us is how much is per share. So in order to calculate that, we need to know how many were issued, and we can divide the value of that account of preferred stock by the number of stock issued, and that'll give us the common stock cost, the par value of $102. For our next equation, let's take a look. If the annual dividend on preferred stock is $48,960, what is the dividend rate on the preferred stock? Well, this one's another one that's fairly simple to figure out. It's simple division. We just take the dividend amount, and we're going to divide that by how many, we don't want to divide it by the number of shares. We want to divide it by what's in the account to figure out what the dividend rate is. And so on the preferred stock, the dividend rate would be 8%. That's how much you're making per preferred stock. And then lastly, for our last question here, this one a little bit tricky until you figure out the context around it. If the dividends of $72,700 were in arrears on preferred stock, what would be the balance reported for retained earnings? Well, if you remember, when they gave us this information, this is what they had in the accounts as of December 31st. So the calculation for retained earnings, those stocks in arrears would have already been worked into that number. So simply, the retained earnings as of December 31st would be $1,064,000, because that 72 was already in the calculations before you get to your final number of the account balances on December 31st. So there you go. Not a terrible question. Let me know if you have any questions at all, and thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys on the boards.